This is Valley News Live at noon.
Pandemic restrictions are loosening up for Minnesotans, some as soon as tomorrow. Now, Governor Tim Walz just announced a three-step timeline for reopening Minnesota. And here are some of the highlights. Nearly all COVID restrictions will be lifted by the end of the month, and a mask requirement will end on July 1st, or once 70% of Minnesotans age 16 and older get the vaccine. Now, starting at noon tomorrow, there will be no longer be limits for outdoor dining or events, and the mandatory closing time for bars and restaurants will expire. By the end of the month, all remaining capacity limits will end. A few things that will remain in place: the eviction moratorium and a ban on price gouging. Now, this wind and dry air could create some fire danger conditions today. Let's check in with meteorologist Lisa Green.
Well, good afternoon. We are looking at some windy conditions already starting up in some areas, and our red flag warning just took effect at the top of the hour here for most of the valley. All of us here in our viewing area and beyond included in this red flag warning until 8 o'clock tonight, because that's when we're expecting to see some of our strongest winds and the impacts of that potentially bringing us that chance for some fire weather conditions here with the winds as strong as they are. And here's a look at those wind speeds. Rather, my computer's giving me some trouble here. We're looking at those winds that are on the strong side. Here we go. We're looking at some gusts getting into the 20s right now, getting close to 30 miles per hour. We're seeing that wind turning northwesterly. Ahead of the front, it's still out of the west. Behind it, we're starting to see a northerly direction, and that front and some sprinkles with it kicking up some of those winds. Temperatures right now, 50s to even some low 60s. Fargo, 61 degrees right now, 59 in Grand Forks. And checking out your radar, you could see we're looking at some green on the map here in the northern valley, along with some cloud cover. Much of that not reaching the ground. I have not seen any reports of any rainfall with the dry conditions that we have, but can't rule out a sprinkle or two as this front continues to dip southward. You can see clouds have built into the Grand Forks area, and in your planner there, temperatures kind of holding steady and then dropping after that front passes through. Ahead of it in the south will warm up a little bit more. Some more details on the timing of that coming up here in just a couple of minutes. We'll also take a look at your Mother's Day weekend too in your forecast.
We'll stay tuned with you to keep ourselves updated. Thanks, Lisa. Well, a man accused of killing a taxi driver in Moorhead is in jail, and police believe he's also responsible for 2 armed robberies in Fargo, all over the course of about 3 hours. 18-year-old Willie Sparkman was arrested last night for the death of a taxi driver whose body was found early yesterday in South Moorhead. Now in Fargo, police suspect him of 2 attempted robberies in South Fargo. Sparkman is booked into the Cass County Jail on robbery charges. And Moorhead police are forwarding a complaint to the Clay County Attorney's Office for charges of second-degree murder while committing a felony and first-degree aggravated robbery. Now, Moorhead police got a call about suspicious activity just south of Village Green Boulevard and 20th Street South in Moorhead yesterday morning. They found the body of 24-year-old Abdullahi and said inside a taxi crash near the railroad tracks. Now, police say he was shot during a planned robbery by Willie Sparkman, who he did not know. Family members are remembering the man who was killed as someone who inspired his siblings, and he had many of them, 5 sisters and 4 brothers. They say Abdullahi was a role model and was always involved in their lives. His family says he had just become a taxi driver 6 weeks ago to start saving money to go to school. A GoFundMe page has been set up to help the family. We have a link to that on our webpage. Go to valleynewslive.com and click on this story. We have an update for you on the allegations of students at Wappington Elementary reacting George Floyd's arrest and death. The superintendent of the school district tells Valley News Live they completed their investigation, and in the incident, they expect to release the findings today or tomorrow. The superintendent also said he wants to be as transparent as possible in this matter. This all comes after we were notified on social media about the allegations and how it upset some students. Stay with Valley News Live as we follow this story. In the aftermath of the violence at the U.S. Capitol in January, there's a discussion taking place about rioting out extremism in the military. Now, several of the rioters arrested or facing potential charges are veterans. Some veterans are speaking out about concerns within their own ranks, while others say such speculation is overblown. Alana Austin reports on the debate playing out right now.
It just flabbergasted me that people who took an oath to support and defend the Constitution would attack the U.S. Capitol.
Retired Marine Lieutenant Colonels Joe Plensler and Scott Cooper were troubled to learn of fellow veterans accused of participating in the Capitol riot. In response, Plensler and Cooper co-wrote an article calling for accountability of those involved. They also denounced the misinformation that, in their view, undermines confidence in our institutions.
We need to stop listening to the fearmongers.
Plensler and Cooper are also hosting meetings with community leaders and fellow veterans to promote stronger civics education.
This is the moment that your country needs you at whatever level to be involved as engaged citizens.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin recently ordered training days so service members could further discuss these issues. But at a recent hearing on Capitol Hill, lawmakers and experts grappled with how to define extremism.
Marine veteran Mike Berry, now the general counsel for First Liberty Institute, recently testified before the House Armed Services Committee. He's concerned potential reforms could punish service members with conservative or Judeo-Christian beliefs, which Berry thinks would hurt military readiness.
If we're going to make these efforts to eradicate extremism from our military, that's a noble undertaking, but we have to ensure that we protect our First Amendment rights for our service members.
At the hearing, experts suggested the military consider further study of this issue, more surveillance of service members' social media, as well as additional training. In Washington, I'm Alana Austin.
The Pentagon is studying this issue and is expected to offer further guidance on what does and does not constitute extremism. The Fergus Falls School District is showing off a brand new school tonight. There's an open house at Lincoln School, which is the former Target in Fergus Falls that was extensively remodeled. Superintendent Jeff Drake says the school is designed for early childhood education. If you'd like to check it out, a ribbon cutting and open house is happening at 5 this afternoon. If you're still looking to get your COVID shot, walk-ins are available for anyone 18 years and older in Clay County today and tomorrow. Go to the Youngcom Center between 3 and 6 today or between 10 and 1 tomorrow. And if you prefer to schedule an appointment, just go to the Clay County Public Health's website. Car enthusiasts are getting revved up for Moorhead's first ever cruise night. In just a few hours, vintage cars will line up from the Center Avenue Bridge to 7th Street. There could be up to 250 vehicles there, including more than 100 motorcycles. Planning a Moorhead cruise night has been in the works for 2 years with coordination between the city and the Moorhead Center Mall. They've also have food trucks, axe throwing, and activities for the kids.
To help Fargo and Moorhead together, we are a club. Every one of our clubs try to help out everybody's club. And this is no club. This is just everybody getting together and doing something in Moorhead.
Cruise night is happening from 5 to 8:30 tonight and every first Thursday of the month until September. 4th Street and 7th Street will be closed as in between. Attendees can park in the Moorhead Center Mall or U.S. Bank lots. Well, coming up at noon, many companies are offering incentives for workers who get the coronavirus vaccine. And dry conditions could make for a potentially hazardous day. Weather up next with meteorologist Lisa Green.